Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast. And yes, we are your number one podcast for bringing you stories around death, dying, and grief, and all the messiness that comes in between with some amazing people that not only walk the walk, but they talk the talk, and they're out here helping people change their lives through healing and resources and support. And of course, I have another amazing guest for you guys today. Now, before I bring her up here, I would like to say that if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And of course, this is a live stream. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section and we'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And help me welcome my next guest, guys. Christine. Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you, Tony. I'm very excited to take some time, have a cup of tea, and have a chat with you.
I'm looking forward to it. We had an amazing conversation the first time that we talked. And so I'm just waiting, to see how this conversation unfolds. And you have an amazing, amazing story. Now, before we get started, I would like to just say, introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do, please.
So I'm Christine Bernat from Quebec, Canada. And what I do is I am a stress management coach. And my primary way of helping people reduce their stress is to self-regulate because I ended up in 2016, 17, 18 being very sick and being told I'd be on sick leave for life. And that's definitely not what I wanted. So I had to find out of the box solutions. And now I love helping people for many different um, aspects of their life, including grief, because grief hits us and
Yes.
we sort of become debilitated. We're not able to be ourselves and we're just stuck in it. And having tools to get out of there is so, so important so that you're not there forever and you can move on with your life.
And now, my first question would be, and I'm glad that you said that because, you know, having that sort of news, it takes on a different definition of what people may perceive as grief, right?
Yeah.
So your shirt blew me right away. I love it. I know, right? That is freaking awesome. Oh my God. Do you know what, Rachel? I'm over your stuff already. She over there messing with my shirt, calling me whatever. You see what I go through? Do you see what I go through, Christine? Over here trying to have a conversation with you, and I got people over here messing with me already. Already.
It's
But
okay.
it
It's
is. It
okay.
is. The people that come in here have been supporters of the show for quite some time, and amazing, amazing people. And before I talk about them, I want to just go back to what you were saying, and I want people to understand what that sort of grief looks like, right? Because I can only elaborate on what I would think that it was like, but you have a more personable experience when it comes down to that sort of grief. It can be displaced, it can be complicated, it can be disenfranchised, it can be compacted, communal, all of those different things, because that's where all of this that's what all of this can lead to. So share your knowledge with us about what that looks like and what does that mean to you.
So grief has so many faces, and each person is an individual, and each person will go through it in their own way. But it will bring up emotions, right? Anger, shame, guilt, regret. Just really depends. Oh, there's a little bit of echo, but that's okay. I
Yes,
don't know if
yes.
it's just on my end. Like it has a whole array of emotions, and I want you to know that it's okay. Whatever emotion you are feeling, it is important for you to connect to that emotion. It was much, much better, right? Maybe
Hmm.
home alone in your room, crying day in, day out because eventually you need to move forward, and the person you've lost or the relationship you've lost, the goal of it was not to stay stuck in the grief. The purpose is to kind of learn the lesson. I know some people are not gonna like what I'm saying here, but to learn the lesson and to see how you can move forward. And in your case, Tony, look at the beautiful gift you're giving people because, you went through a lot and now you're talking about it, and I think that's beautiful to see people who are, doing this. I was helping someone with grief just before, Christmas, and she's like, "I have to leave the country. I can't stay here, and spend that time," and I think that's great. She's going with her brother. Excellent. But at the same time, we took the time to, reduce that amount of stress without having that loved one with you, right? And she was able to feel a lot calmer and to feel, "Okay, yeah, I can do this trip now. It's okay. I'm not terrified of going on the trip. I'm not, you know, a as angry. I Some of the anger was dissipated, some of the abandonment, feeling abandoned, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Abandonment is a huge thing in rejection. If it's, like a divorce, there's a lot of grief there. That can be rejection, it can be abandonment. But these are some of those core issues that, you know, they hit us like a brick sometimes, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And honestly, Christine, it's supposed to, right? This is the price that you. I know sometimes when people are grieving, it's really hard to understand this, and it took a long time for I think a lot of us understand to get to a place of acceptance, right? Or I really hate the I really dislike the word acceptance. I
Mhm.
like the word acknowledgement, acknowledging that your life has changed.
Yes.
You get to choose whether or not it is going to change for the better or for the bitter, right? And both of them will go hand in hand. And sometimes you will be bitter before it gets better, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of times people have expectations because when we watch people, I've heard this said many times over, and I find it to be hilarious. You're doing it wrong. Says who?
Yeah, says who? No matter what you're doing in your life, if somebody is telling you you're doing it wrong, change um, change persons you're having conversations with. Like, don't listen to them. That's
Right.
their opinion, that's their perspective. Even as an
Well,
entrepreneur, people will say, "Well, that's impossible." Yeah, right, it's impossible. It's impossible to create the ripple effect of love for dads and families. What? No, it's needed. It's needed for us to transform our grief, right? To transform it so that it ignites something else in us that we can, um, bring to others who are
mhm,
suffering as well, right?
yeah.
And the most important, I'd say, is to not isolate. I mean, even if it means going to a cafe to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, for an hour so that you get out of the house, or calling up a friend that'll talk to you, because reaching out to a helpline, there are so many different strategies.
Mhm.
But if you find that the energy weighs down on you of the grief, then I'd love to support you to release it, because that's where my gift is, my strength is to be able
Yeah.
to support people on that journey. It's and I wanna tell this story because, something happens to us, it affects us a little bit when we're young, and, like, maybe we lost an aunt, an uncle, something, and then something else happens, but every time there's a little something that happens, it hits us harder and harder.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And grief is the same thing. I lost my cousin who's younger than I am 2 years ago, and it hit me like a ton of bricks because she's my favorite cousin, even though she was across the country. It doesn't matter. It's just and we all grieve in different ways, and there's so many different things, but I wanna share this idea. Her son decided to have everybody in his backyard for a campfire and pizza.
Yeah.
So everybody was crying and then telling stories, and it was a really, really amazing way to have some closure, right? It was a really good way to start the grieving process. And it was quite sudden and, so grieving, um, how can I say this? Her husband was unable to go in the room without crying, and she had hours left to live, right?
Hmm.
So, I did the snap, tap, zap with him. He was able to go in, hold her hand, tell her he loved her, and was there with her when she passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, um, I want to add to that because as you were saying that, it took me back down memory lane.
Mhm.
And I would tell you that is probably the hardest thing as a parent you ever do
Yeah.
is not only watch your child die or watch anyone for that matter
Yeah. Yeah.
that you care about pass away and be there with them. I know there's people that say, I would rather have been there and things like that until you're actually there. And I get it. Look, I get it. I do.
Yeah.
But it is nonetheless, it is hard because in that moment,
Yeah.
your mind is trying to accept the reality that this just happened.
Yes.
Your heart is saying, I cannot
Mhm.
accept this
Yeah.
because this is a heartbreak that I'm not going to live through. And those that have gone through these things or
Mhm.
have gone through deep embedded grief,
Mhm.
it feels as if you're not going to get through it.
Yeah.
Everything stops. We,
Yeah.
we, we all know this, right? When things like this happen, we want the world to stop. We want to be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I am over here. I'm gonna need y'all to stop for a little bit just so I can catch my boundaries. But the reality of it is that the world doesn't stop. The world keeps evolving, and people keep going. And
Yeah.
then there's the unexpected,
Mm.
right? Your family, your friends, people that were normally there before this life changing event happened.
Yes.
You realize that maybe they aren't equipped to be there with you anymore. So they have a tendency of just disappearing over time.
Yes.
Disappearing.
Yeah.
Now, you said something earlier about the isolation. Look,
Yes.
I don't recommend people be isolated during this point in time.
Yeah, no.
Now, in some cases, you may not have a choice.
Mhm.
You may have to sit in the darkness. You may have to sit along with those memories. You may have to sit along with that hurt, that deep embedded heartbreak. You may have to,
Yeah.
but you have to also, at some point, whenever you're ready, you have to learn how to breathe again.
Yeah.
You have to be vulnerable enough to trust people, the right people, to come into your space. Now you're going to come across a whole lot of bad people. It's part of it, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want people to think that, what I'm saying, it's just going to be one of those. No, it's part of it. You're going to come across the wrong people that may not understand. Now their intentions are not bad towards you. They may not understand what you're going through.
And what
So
they say to support you does not support you necessarily, right?
oh, you know this, yeah, you know this, right? They gonna say some stuff, and you may look at them like, yeah. As soon as you turn your head, I'm gonna throw punch you, right?
Yeah.
You,
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you would rather just kick him out the door than have him there.
Well,
And
but
some will come and just talk about all their heartaches and heart pains and hurt, and you're
right.
like, "Get out, I've got enough with mine, I don't need yours."
But I want to first before we dive into that comment right there because it's really important. I want to dive deeper into that. But now I want to go back to the mindset, right?
Mm,
From when you got your diagnosis,
mhm.
right? You know what I'm saying, and understanding that you've just now been diagnosed with this terrible thing. Take us back to that moment. What's going on through your head, Christine?
Well, for me, I I survived my life by disconnecting from
Mm,
reality and 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 wouldn't register it in the conscious mind. So it was like, I don't know, what did he say? What the doctor say? And every time I went back to the doctor, they would add another diagnosis, okay? So I was collecting them at this point because they had no
right.
they could they it was anyway, it was, interesting, but finally, at some point, I had to face, this and face that, I still remember asking I could barely walk, and I asked my mesotherapist, okay, you're gonna laugh, it's funny today. "Do you think I could go downhill skiing today?"
I mean, that's a good attitude
Okay.
to have, though. Come on, now that's a great attitude to have. But like, I know you just died, but do you think I can go do some downhill skiing? I mean, who's going to say no to that?
Well, she said, "I think you better wait a little bit, Christine." I could barely get from the house to the car and drive to the appointment without having a 10-minute nap, be able to get into the office, right?
As long as you're not napping while you're driving, I think we all good there. You
All
know,
good, it
you
was
can't be doing a whole napping and driving. That's how accidents happen. We
yeah,
don't
no,
need
no,
that.
no, but, I it was crazy, and, whatever you have to listen to your inner wisdom, and that's how I didn't have the snap, tap, zap technique back then. I wasn't a certified EFT master practitioner. I had taught for 30 years, and, I mean, we learned how to attach with children, we learned how to tell them to sit down, we learned, like, how to be I'm gonna say this, control freaks, because which saddens me, and that's why I couldn't do that anymore, and that's why I think my body just shut down so that I couldn't go to work anymore, so that I couldn't and then the inflammation in my body, just took over, and there was a lot of anger inside of me that I was carrying. This is what I learned afterwards. When the doctor said you'll be on sick leave for life, there was this little part of me there was one doctor, though, who said, Christine, our job is to diagnose, not to treat. And I thought, wow. And that stuck to me. That really, really stuck to me. And I think that was a good, he was the one that had diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. And
Mm,
then I had others with PTSD and complex PTSD, major depression, burnout, Reynolds disease, whatnot. I just like, okay, I had enough of doctors. I'm going to stay home and
yeah,
just rest. And your body heals itself. However, in 2019, I really started the journey of healing myself. And EFT is emotional freedom techniques. And what that does is when you tap on a meridian point, for example, there's one here on the on the rib cage near the heart level. When you're tapping there, it's sending a message to your brain, your survival part of the brain. Because, excuse me, when there's grief, I believe we go into survival mode. We're trying to survive but we don't feel safe anymore without this other person with us, or we feel abandoned. That brings us to survival mode. Um, we feel guilty. That brings us to survival mode. We whatever that emotion is in the moment. I haven't named them all because there's so many emotions, but
Yes.
it brings us into survival mode, and we're unable to use our prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain here, that has all the logic in it, that knows that we can survive, that knows that we can find resources, that knows that we can. But when we're in survival mode, I'm sorry, we're just in a mess, and an emotional mess.
Right.
Not everyone, but I am anyway. I think there's a lot of people out there, and we all have different ways of dealing with it. Some people will cry all day. Others will resort to drugs, to alcohol, to, working more. Like, I've seen that. You just
Mhm.
work, 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 so you're not thinking about it, you're not, but there's a part of you inside that's really, really hurting. And what I found is the faster you, get help to support that part, you can do it with mindset. But I have found with everybody that I've worked with, if we incorporate some tapping or some releasing of the energy that's stuck in us, the results are mind blowing, like so much faster,
Yeah.
so much faster. And and I came to create Snap Tap Zap because it's super simple. A child can do it. And the best example that I have that I love to tell is I had a little cousin here, and he was in the kayak with his mom, holding on to the dock. "Don't you dare push me, Christine." Terrified of the water. I had forgotten he was afraid of water. He wanted to go kayaking. I never even thought.
Right.
And he's sitting there, and I got down to his eye level, and I said, "Just follow me. Let's do this together." So we did it, and I can have the whole audience do this with us. Do it, practice it, try it, see how it feels. So you snap your fingers, or you can clap if you can't snap. Tap as you take a deep breath, relax the shoulders for 2, and exhale.
All right.
And we'll do it again. Take a nice deep breath in as you scan. Where's that fear? Where's that fear of abandonment, that guilt that you're feeling? That I know those are big emotions, but take a deep breath, relax the shoulders, and exhale. And we'll do it one more time. You can close your eyes if it helps. Take a deep breath. Relax the shoulders and the spine. You can wiggle. Some people need to move, like it helps release.
Like
And
it.
yeah, exhale. Well, we did
Love
3
it.
rounds. Takes 9 seconds, 3 rounds. He pushed away and he says, "I'm ready to go. Let me go." And away he went. And
Yeah.
he's never been afraid of water since. Isn't that amazing?
There's a sense of calmness that comes after that, right?
Yes.
I felt that, and I do a lot of guided meditation, and a lot of times I do it with myself. So
Yes.
what I would do is that when I am feeling overwhelmed with anxiety, when especially when my grief shows up
Yes.
unexpectedly,
Yes.
you know, it can really take you for a loop. And if you're not prepared for, if you're not used to your grief showing up like that, it can take you to a different place because it will actually play on the emotion that you're most, that is most prominent in that moment, which it can be anger, it can be depression, it can be
Yes.
sadness, it can be sorrowful, sorrowness, and grief will actually play into that, which will amplify it that much more.
Yes.
And so you have to be very mindful of the mindset that you have when it shows. And so, doing guided meditation, I often, I will tell myself in my head when it happens, I will sit with it. I will find myself, I will go, look, in this moment, I need to ground myself. And so, and what that does for me, just like EDMR, tapping and things like that, it gives me a center point to focus my vibration, my frequency,
Yeah.
to where it's not spreading out all over. Because if it's a negative thought or negative energy, you don't want that going to be contained to other individuals because it can be contagious. So what I do, I find myself on a hard surface to where it can vibrate back to me. And in turn, and I do not recommend people to do this. This is a technique that I developed that worked for me. When it came back, I realized that it was carrying a message to through my nervous system, and I was able to regulate it through that. And then I can, like, in my mind, I can tell myself, hey, imagine yourself, here or in the middle, or a lot of times I like to imagine myself in the mountains, right?
Love that.
But see, it's not what people think it is. In
Mhm.
order for me, in order for me to experience grief the way that it needs to, I have to sometimes imagine very gloomy, cloudy days
Mm.
in the mountains where the clouds are drifting across. You ever see those scenes where the clouds are drifting in through the mountains and you can see
Oh,
through
yes.
the trees and there's a little bit of snow, but it's like darkish. It's a
Yes.
grayish.
Yes. I've
And,
seen very gray clouds.
right, right. And now what does that do to you? Does it make you overwhelmed? Does it calm you down? And the reason being, the reason why I say this, because if you can imagine yourself being there, what does that do? It makes you want to cozy up, right? It wants you to go to a warm. It wants you to go to a place where it's warm, but
Mhm.
it allows you to feel the emotion,
Yes.
right, in its totality. And maybe you don't have a word for it, but as you begin to experience that emotion, you can experience the clouds moving around, the quietness. But here's one thing that people fail to realize: you're still in nature.
Yeah.
You're still in nature. You're still connecting,
Yes.
right? And so as you begin to do this, imagine yourself with a cup of hot cocoa. Imagine yourself with a cup of hot coffee or something like that. Imagine yourself sitting by the fireplace in this moment.
Yes.
It's just you. It's
Yes.
just you in the fireplace. It's quiet. Now imagine yourself sitting there with your book, right? Now it's starting to get a little warmer.
Mhm.
It's starting to get a little warmer. And your coffee, you no longer are holding it in your hand. You may put it on a table or something. And that book is still sitting on your lap. You may find yourself feeling a little comfortable. And you may imagine yourself pushing the covers off your shoulders. Now you're sitting there for a little bit, right? And over a period of time, you begin to regulate your breathing,
Yes.
right? Regardless of what's going on around you, you've now gotten into a place to where you calm.
Yes.
And no matter the emotions, the overwhelmness, you're now regulating that emotion along with it. And you're regulating your breathing because now you realize you become aware,
Yes.
right? And so that's the guided meditation that I would do with myself in those moments, right? I can take myself out of everything and the emotions because it's like as I'm sitting there, I can slow everything down, everything, right?
That's
And I go,
beautiful.
yeah. But see, it's a technique again, just
Yes.
like yourself. You developed this beautiful technique of clapping and tapping and understanding. But I was doing that, I was like, wow, that is very calming,
And
right?
what if, Tony, what if you do your beautiful guided meditation as you snap
Yes, yes.
and relax? I think you will because I do guided meditations for groups and it's exactly what you were saying. I'm like, "Wow, this is really cool." But we release first any emotions that we have, then we go on the guided meditation to release more, and I always say, if during the meditation the thoughts go and blah, 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 snap, tap, zap, to keep because every time you tap and there's other meridian points that you can use, but this is just
Mhm.
one because we're talking about grief. I find that going on the sternum near the heart is a really powerful place to be.
Right.
But, I don't know how much time we have left.
This is your show. This is your show. Go. Tell.
Okay. So, when those thoughts take over and you just like, you really want to get back to that calm place, and because you've done it so much, your brain is trained to do it. If you're learning to do, like, the guided meditation that you were talking about, I would recommend tapping around the ears. Not a huge C, but a small C around the ear.
Yeah.
And why I use all the fingers is because there's many meridian points here. And then I have you imagine that you're releasing that on a hot air balloon. Why
Mm.
a hot air balloon? Because when you're releasing that grief, if you have highly sensitive people around you, they will feel it. It will, you know, And 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 that's not what we want. So on the hot air balloon, when they pull on the cord, what happens? The fire blows up and it burns, to make more heat. So if you imagine that all that grief, you're sending it into the hot air balloon while you're tapping around the ears, because that has everybody I've worked with says, "Oh my gosh, my mind just stopped." It felt so good. If you have a hamster wheel, that's what I've discovered, and, I also want to share another tip, which, somebody that I worked with grief recently said, "Oh, Christine, the snap tap zap's okay, but the havening is another technique." You put your hands on your shoulders, and you go down to the elbows, and you exhale, and you just slide down, and if you need it really hard, you press hard.
Mm.
And if you need it very light, you do it very lightly, and you exhale as you go down, in, and exhale. That touch has a special, um, effect on us, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. It's so soothing, and some people will love the pressure, and some will love just barely touching, and that's okay. And you do it about 9 times. And then you tune in to your body and see how it feels, how much
Yeah.
calmer you are.
So we got ourselves a little troll in here. I I, I was gonna block him out, but I'm gonna let the other people deal with this individual. Because I think a lot of times what happens is that these individuals forget that this is a grief podcast. There are
Mm,
people that are listening and
yeah,
watching that are actively grieving,
yes.
and you're being disrespectful in that
Mhm,
moment.
mm.
Now that's not okay.
No,
That's not okay. And if you feel the need to be disrespectful to those that are out there hurting, that are listening to this podcast,
mhm, yeah,
I'm thinking maybe you need to go and really check yourself, and maybe your morals.
yeah.
Maybe,
Well, they must be hurting somewhere
yeah, they have to be hurting
inside of them,
somewhere
and it's
where,
coming out
yeah,
the wrong
yeah,
way.
and that's totally fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I just wish that they would have a different frame of mind of how
yes,
they want to express the way that they hurt, because
yes.
not everything is a joke. And I get it. People like to hide behind technology
Mhm.
and things like that
Unfortunately,
until they can't,
unfortunate. Yeah.
until they can't do that anymore. Then they find themselves in a really bad situation. So I
Mhm.
would just like to remind the people out there, just be mindful of
Yes,
what you're putting into someone else's chats, and the people that are active, that are actually watching, trying to get something from what we're giving. Okay, there are other platforms that you can do that on,
yes,
that don't have people who are actively hurting.
yes.
if I could suggest, go to those and troll them. And if you are hurting, ask for help.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. We're here to help you go through these things, but be mindful,
Yes.
please. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm pretty sure they just jumped off, which was probably in the best of interest for them.
Yes.
And
Sure.
I wasn't going to take the comment down, but I wanted other people to see. What I'm saying? This is what we don't do.
Yes.
This is what we don't do. Okay.
And I
Um,
love that you pause to mention this because it's a choice, right? To allow them or not. And I love the choice that you took to say this is not okay. Even if you're hurting, this is still not okay.
yeah, it's not okay. You know, but it's not only disrespectful to the guests that we have on the show that's out here sharing their stories, giving their knowledge and their wisdom. But
Mhm.
it's not okay to the people that are actually listening and learning and looking for resources and support
Yeah.
to come in and be disrespectful like that. It's like if you invited me over to your house
Yes.
and
Exactly.
I decided to come to your house with no clothes on.
Okay. I
If I decide to come to your house with no clothes on, are you gonna let me in your door?
No,
Are
I'm not. Sorry there, Tony. You're a great guy, but I'd probably say, "Do you need some clothes? Let me throw you some clothes."
So, and how would you feel about that? Way open up the door, like, oh my, no, right? It's disrespectful.
It is.
That's
It
what
is.
this is. You come into my house with no clothes on,
Yeah.
right? I invite you over for dinner, and you just come to my house and like, hey, ta-da, right? I get it. I get it. But what I'm saying? Like at some
Oh,
point, you got to put on some clothes,
yes, you
right?
do.
At some point,
This
you got to put on some clothes. And
this
and and, and
reminds me, is it okay if I add a funny story from when I
yeah,
was
most
teaching?
definitely, most definitely.
So the students, that when the short shorts came in and the short tops, like, the belly button and everything showing, I had said to them, I said, "How would you feel if I showed up in my bikini at school?" They went, "Oh, miss." I said, "Well, at home, I'm comfortable wearing my bikini, but I said at school, I wear appropriate attire, you
Right,
know?"
right,
And I
right.
said, "It's the same thing for you guys." I said, "You're coming to school. You're not coming to a swimming pool party here." So and they all understood that distinction, and I had 0 issues the whole year while other teachers kept dealing with issues, and it's finding that way to say things to people so that their brain understands it, right?
Mhm.
With an image, with something. So when you said showing up at my doorstep, yeah, you wouldn't show up. So you don't say crazy things to people.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
I mean, if we look, they have a role to play too, and I appreciate them coming in because they probably got you know tens of thousands of people that's following them, so they just help me get it out to more people, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so I get it. They have a role to play. Let them do their role. If this is where it's part of it, to get it out there to more people, come on in. But this just be reminded that I'm going to say something, right?
Yep, yep.
And if I don't, sometimes you have to be careful because some of the people that are watching this, what I'm saying, that are in the comments are watching you too.
Yes.
And I would prefer that they didn't come after you because then I would have to be like, no, no, don't do that in the comments. And I wouldn't know how to regulate that. Okay, so just be a little bit more mindful of those things, please. And if you are out there hurting, ask some questions.
Yes.
Like ask some questions. Let us help you get to a place to um, where you can begin your healing process because
Yes.
it takes a special individual that want to come in and want to do something like that and hurt other people because you're hurting. It's the same thing. And it leads me to the question, are you a narcissist?
Mhm.
Have you been abused before? If so, then hey, we can get you help.
Yeah.
Maybe you're an addict. So you don't like those questions, do you?
Mhm.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Maybe you are an addict. Maybe you need some help.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe you have some mental health issues.
Mhm.
May need a little help about there. So my question would be, who hurt you?
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
hurt you, right? Because
Hurt you so bad that you need to
right, right,
spread the
right.
hurt. I think it's the hurt that's overspilling.
Well, but it's a natural thing, though, right? You know what I'm saying? Like uh, we do this grief thing because it makes sense to us. Had we
Mhm.
not walked this path and had to go through the things that we've gone through, of
Mhm.
course, you know what I'm saying? We've had to make our fair share of mistakes. Hurt people hurt people. It
Mhm.
wasn't intentional, right?
Mhm.
But we still did it anyway. And
Mhm.
that's okay because at some point we recognized that and said, you know what? Only thing I could do at this point is I have to ask for forgiveness. And you have a beautiful mindset. You have a very beautiful mindset. I mean, can you imagine that? I can only imagine a doctor when you said, "Hey, do you think I could go down here skiing today?" I'm saying that the look on that doctor's face, like,
I know, it sounds so crazy, It's like
so,
I
but,
was disconnected, right?
right, right.
Disconnected from my reality, didn't want to face my reality.
Mhm.
It's that simple, and that's some of us, we all have our own, way of dealing with grief,
Right.
whether it's grief from disease or grief from, losing someone, losing our children. I'm glad I never had to live that one, and or grief from, my parents are 85 and 90. My dad's gonna be 91 in 5 days, so, um, I know it's coming, right? And
Mhm.
I know that I've started the grieving process in my own way and, chose to be there while they're before they end up in the hospital or, whatnot, and it's a choice so that that grieving isn't. I don't know how I'll be after, but I know now that I have a lot of techniques to support me
Mhm.
and a lot
Yeah,
of tools, and that's the
yeah.
important thing.
And you're absolutely right. That is the true important part of it is having those tools. But another, I want to add to that, right? Because what I found,
Yeah.
add more tools.
Yes.
Surround yourself with people
Yes.
that have gone through similar things, and
Mm.
ask them similar, ask them things. Hey, what did you do?
Yes.
Right? Not
Yes.
to mimic what they've done, but to ask if they can share some of the techniques that they've used to help navigate that world, right? And just add it in there because you may not need it at the moment, or even at the time where you may be faced to deal with the things that are coming. But you can also reach back into there and go,
Yes.
I remember I talked to such and such. Let me go back in here. Oh, that one's not going to work right now, but let me pull this one out, right?
Yes.
And it can be something so as simple as put one step in front of the other today.
Breaking your day down into minutes.
Moments,
A moment, yeah. Like, in
moments.
this moment, I'm overwhelmed.
Hmm.
I like to say, like, something I've learned to say to myself is, "I love myself enough to." And what is it that you love yourself enough to? I love myself enough to allow myself to cry right now, or I love myself enough to get dressed and go have a cup of tea, or
Yeah,
I love myself enough to call someone for support. I love myself enough to do what? What is it that will, help you? And I still remember my brother was reading a book. This was before I knew anything of what I know today, when I was really sick. And he says, "Christine, there's 3 steps. Step 1," I can't even remember what it was. "Step 2, and then step 3 is go back to step 1." So make yourself a 3-step plan. And when you've done this, okay, what do I need? Well, I need to feed myself, right? Because sometimes that can be a challenge. I need to get dressed, or I need to get out of bed, I need to get dressed. Go back to step 1, and then you choose what it is. I need to self-regulate is step 1. Step 2, I need to meditate, and then go back to step 1, right? I need to self-regulate my nervous system. It's shot, it's going down the drain. So I need to take care of me. And that self-love is so, so important. You know, I'm gonna share this because grief has a lot to do sometimes. Caregivers go through a lot of grief, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And I think not even 6 months ago, somebody I know had a friend that, was a healer, helping a lot of people, and she started taking care of her sick mom, and sometimes we don't realize the demands these sick people put on us because we're used to giving, 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 right? How can
Mhm.
I please you? And that's like, I used to be a people pleaser, and, well, the daughter went into the hospital and died 10 days later. Mom is still going,
Mm.
Tony? So caregivers, I love myself enough to rest. I love myself enough to say no to my mom or dad when they want something. Calling me Friday night at 4 o'clock when I'm closing or at 6 o'clock when I'm closing things down for my weekend and just wanna relax, I'm allowed to say no to go get zucchini at the store so she has
Yeah,
zucchini for supper.
yeah.
I'm allowed to say no. And I'm allowed to reach out, and because this is what happened to me. I ended up going on a trip, and I didn't wanna come home, and I didn't wanna come home, and I didn't know why I didn't wanna come home. And I was in a because I disconnect, right? So, it's harder when we disconnect because we don't wanna deal with it. And what I came to understand is that I needed to set some clear boundaries that empowered me and empowered my parents, because I only live 12 minutes away. We're 5 siblings, but I was doing all the errands, all this, all that, picking them up, driving them, It
Mhm.
was like, "Whoa." And running my business and,
Yeah.
so I started saying, "Just a minute here." You'd go over for a meal, "Oh, but you've gotta stay longer," you know? "Oh, why don't you stay for this? Oh, why don't you stay for that?" No, no, I want so finally I thought of and it just like I have a bubble I put around myself to protect myself from that needy energy, right? And I said, "You know what, Mom? I love my home. It's beside a lake, and I love it there too." And she says, "Well, of course you do." And I said, "I wanna go home."
Yeah.
And that was the starting point to empowering myself to say no in a nice way, very nice way, right? I didn't get angry, I didn't get frustrated, I didn't get exasperated with her. I just told my truth from deep within my heart. But when we're in the situation, we're not always seeing those solutions, right?
Right.
And it's finding them within us. Yeah.
I want to, because that is so beautiful, and you're absolutely correct. Now, there's from my own perception, I can see the other side of that.
Yeah.
And when I say this, it's only because I've lived this is the way I've lived my life for quite some time. I'm a very simple individual.
Mhm.
And I guess when someone like myself, and I know there's other people out there that have been so used to being stripped of everything,
Mm.
is home is a place where we're journeying to.
Yeah.
right? You know, because when you get used to, and no one, I wouldn't say please, if anybody out there, don't ever get used to this. I've gotten used to it because it was just the way I've always lived my life. And even now, if something was to happen, I'm okay with everything because I've learned how to navigate this world with the very bare minimum.
Yes.
And so for those individuals like myself, it's a momentarily security,
Hmm.
right? Because at least for me, I understand that tomorrow all of this could be taken away from me,
Yes.
and I get it. I do. The key to it is that in those moments, is not to fall apart,
Hmm.
not to worry, but to think to yourself, this just started the next adventure of my life.
Yes. Yes.
And if you can look at things in a perspective that way,
Hmm. Yeah.
it makes it makes the loss less overwhelming. But to look at the opportunity and go, okay, what's next?
Hmm.
Let me see if I can. I already know how to do this. So I know that this just happened to take me somewhere else. And
Hmm.
again, going back to what we was talking about earlier, I'm saying minutes and moments. It's looking at the moment, understanding, and then leaving that in this moment and taking knowledge. So when you release that, you can go to the next moment without the burden of understand or trying to make more sense of what this just happened in your life. You've extracted the knowledge, you've looked at it and go, okay,
Hmm.
I cannot change that moment right there. But what I can do is that within the next steps, within this next moment, I begin to put things into place to put me in a position
Yes.
to where I can be safe
Yes.
until I can figure out the next step after that.
I,
But
I love how you say that, Tony. And it's just in that moment. It's a choice, a
right, yeah,
conscious choice
right.
that we take. And I love, like, in this moment, I choose a choice that will keep me safe for right now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm gonna let you continue, but I just wanted to really underline the power of that's when we take our power back, mini step at a time, those little mini steps, but having that ability to say, "Right now, I choose," and that
But that's what it's
empowers
about.
us.
That see this whole grief journey, this whole grief, you know, everything about grief. We mentioned something earlier, the impact of it, right? And that's what it's designed to do because the impact is there to do a few things for you, depending on what you're asking of it, right?
Yes.
And what is asking you to give back for what it wants to give you. See, you cannot take in more into your cup if your cup is full. Grief is asking you to empty out some of the things so it can fill those things to help you have a better understanding
Yes.
of what you're experiencing. Now everybody's going to go through their own grief in their own different way, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's what makes it so beautiful because it is an individual experience.
Yes.
Like we have conversations, Christine,
Mhm.
to better understand how we can be more effective in what we do,
Mhm.
learning different techniques from each other,
Yeah.
but also building relationships with ourselves, and with those who are to looking for someone to trust
Mhm.
in their vulnerability, right? And so when we open up the doors to be able to do something like that, grief comes in and says, okay, in order for me to get you to this point, I'm going to first and foremost, and here's something that a lot of people mess up on. Grief says, I need you to surrender to me.
Yeah.
Then grief says, now I need you to let go of your safety net.
Mhm.
The problem is that we as people don't know how to trust the process of letting go of that safety net, because for the most part, we have been surviving
Yes.
this life, right?
Totally, and that's where I would when I feel that I need to let go and I can't, there's a few things I'll do. I will tap, breathe as I'm writing with the other hand, and just writing it all down sometimes, taking it especially if it's anger, it's really good. You can crumble it, you can put it in the sink or find a safe place where you can burn that up. That has a very, it helps the mind let go, if you will.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I just wanted to add one more thing because I was talking about my parents and for caregivers that are, drained and I just feel there's caregivers that are listening right now and I need to share this. So the next step I did, there was my sister that's in France. I mean, she's across the ocean, right? How can she help? Well, I found a way she could help. And it was a double win. So, my mom would forget to call and get the groceries delivered on Tuesday. So, on the weekend, I was spending 3 hours to do groceries with them because by the time you get them in the car with the wheelchair and everything, it's a whole so I said to my sister, I said, "You know what? I have something you can do," because she was feeling guilty of being in France and not supporting me. I said, "You can call mom Tuesday morning. Remind her to do her groceries, call them in, and they deliver it that afternoon for $7. Anyway, here in this community. So, I mean, hey, $7, I'm saving 3 hours of my time. I love it.
Yeah,
And my mom has my sister calling her every week now. Now that emotional thing for my mom, who is codependent and attaching was like, she stopped calling me all the time for this
yeah,
and that because now my other sister is taking over some of that. Every week she's calling.
yeah.
So, and it's one day my brother said to me, he says, "Oh, Christine," I don't know what he was thinking. I said, "Oh, well, where have you been up to?" He says, "Oh, my girlfriend and I, and blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, I said, "Wow," and I said he says, "You're doing a good job of taking care of mom and dad." And he's only half an hour away, right, drive?
Yeah,
And I said, "Well, it's not just my responsibility." So now he takes care of all the financial part. And once in a while, he comes over and helps my dad with stuff that my dad was a mechanic, but he still wants to be a mechanic, but his brain can't remember the steps to it. For certain
right.
steps, he can. So it was really about empowering myself to delegate some. I have a brother in New Brunswick. Well, then that's I don't know, it's 8-10 hour drive. Well, he's not coming down very often, right?
Very true, very true.
My dad had things to sell. So he came down, he took pictures of everything, he put it on Facebook Marketplace, and he sold the stuff. You know, there
Yeah.
are ways we don't think of them, but there are ways to get support. But because we're used to doing it all ourselves, and I was in the victim mode instead of being empowered at how can my siblings really support me?
Hmm.
And now they all have jobs and it's not just me. And it just feels so much lighter.
Yeah. Do you find that when, especially with siblings, right, and you all are experiencing the grief on your own personable level,
Yes.
do you find that it's easier to get the siblings to come in during, before, or after
Mm.
the incident has happened, in order to take on some of the responsibility. And the reason why I say this, because I know that in a lot of cases, siblings may have a different sort of relationship than what you may have with that individual. And so it may be a little bit harder to go, hey, I need you to come and do this, or because sometimes they can be taken personal and be like, you know what, you don't get to tell me what to do. We all
Yes, yes,
this is
yes, yes. I hear you. I hear you loud
yeah,
and clear. So, this is we're all different. So, this is what you do. Number 1, you self-regulate and you get rid of all your fears of them saying no to you.
mhm.
And then you pray a lot for the right moment to ask for the help.
Right,
I
right.
had no intention. Like, how I thought of asking my sister that's in France to support my mom to get her groceries done is beyond me. It just popped
Right.
in one day. But my amygdala can't be in survival mode. That part of the brain that goes into survival mode, if it's there and you're stuck there, you're unable to see the new possibilities.
That's very true.
So you've
That's very,
got to calm that, and that's why when we're tapping on meridian points, we're calming the survival mode part of our brain, that reptilian part that thinks there's a lion running after it, and we are unable to make conscious decisions in the sense that they really make sense for everybody concerned.
right, right.
This happened over 2 years, right? It wasn't right away. It was a process. I have another sister that I don't get along with, and it's okay, and she's taking care of the medical part. But who's driving to the appointments? Well, I am, 'cause she's 5 hours away. She's not gonna come down, even
Right.
though she's on, medical leave for life, right?
Mhm.
She, is who she is and is unable to. So, what I do now, I learn, every time I ask myself, "Okay, how can this be improved without having this long email that's going to come in? It's going to take me 20 minutes to read it.
Right.
So, what if the professional has my name and number to contact for booking the appointments? So it fits in my schedule." Right?
Okay. So
Yeah,
delegate, a lot of
yeah,
delegation, a lot of
yeah,
communication, because in grief, a lot of people don't know how to communicate effectively towards one another. So I
yeah,
definitely can understand that.
yes,
Which
yes,
leads me to my next question, because
yeah,
this is beautiful. I love your insight on all of these different things. So my next question would be, when did you decide to start your company and the work that you do?
mm. In 2019, when I started learning about EFT, that's when I needed to learn it. I didn't have the money to pay someone, so I found someone. That was really funny. I kept waking up and it kept saying EFT, EFT in the middle of the night, and I said, "EFT Lindsay." So I Googled, because EFT, emotional freedom techniques, usually is taught in person, and I couldn't
Mhm.
drive anywhere, so that was my excuse, right? I had this excuse, so I was creating that reality unconsciously, obviously. Today, I can see that I was creating that reality.
Okay.
So then I went in the middle of the night, I Googled EFT training, Lindsay. 2 people popped up. I took Deborah Lindsay because it was cheaper, it was in my budget, and it was online, and I didn't have to go anywhere. I can tell you, my brain was so shut down at that point that
Mhm.
to be able to take that course, okay, I had to, um I'm still getting a little emotional about saying it, so I'm just gonna tap while I say it, and that's how I use Snap Tap Zap.
I
So
love
I would listen to one word, stop the recording, and write the word down. So a 1-hour training could take me 6 hours. 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 Okay, that's how I started. That's how low I was. My brain was non-functional at that point in time. So I am so lucky, to be able to be here. And Deborah Lindsay is amazing. I had tried a year prior or 2 years prior to join with someone else who was offering an online course, just a little part, and I took it, and when I expressed my opinions or thoughts, I was shut down. Do
Mm,
you know today that person uses that technique and teaches it?
really?
Really? Huh,
Well, that
because
doesn't surprise me.
it doesn't surprise me, yeah, no, because but people, if you're creative and imaginative and you find solutions, like, they pop in your lap because you're
Mhm.
intuitive, go and get training from intuitives. Not from people who have, "This is the only answer, take my box, apply
Right.
my box, you will be healed." I was not healed with his box, by the way, right?
Yeah.
And but I still follow just to see what he's up to and see if there's something new I haven't thought of that I can integrate in my uh, yeah. It's having this. So today I did some journaling. I do this, right? And because I've had a setback with my body shutting down a little bit and it's don't want to accept it, right?
Right.
And
Right.
the knowledge that I can get out of it is very, very there, and I believe it. So today, because I fell apart for a little bit, I did my thing. I took my book, I wrote down, and the way I journal is taught by Marianne Robat. She's a Talera yeah, Talera Energy Mastery Systems, teacher. She's amazing. If you
Okay.
want to know more about the energy work, she is mind-blowing amazing. And so I'm writing so you write your question that you wanna ask, and you write LA, L-A, comma, L-A, comma, L-A, comma, and when
Yeah.
I've done 2 lines of it, I read the question again if no answers are coming in. Because what happens is the mind is busy writing la, 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 and then all of a sudden the intuition will flow into you, your information that you're looking for.
Right.
So then the most important thing for me today, let go of all the no's you've received in your life. There's a huge amount. And open to the yeses. Open up to the yeses. Isn't that just beautiful message? Like,
Yeah, it is.
let go of the no's and
Mm.
open up to the yeses. So that's my journey for the next year, right? Because it'll take me
Yeah.
a while to but it's a beautiful journey, and it has helped me. And and, and I just said it'll take me years. What did my body do? Pain came in. So
Hmm.
that limiting thought needs to go out the window onto the hot air balloon, right? And
Hmm.
just let it go up there. It's not true. There's another truth that is possible.
I like that.
So I have learned to listen to my body, and when I refuse to listen to it, the pain gets worse and worse, right?
Mm.
So we suffer often because we refuse to accept, well, we refuse to acknowledge that there's other possibilities out
You're right. You're right. And
there.
another side to that too. A lot of times when we refuse to listen to it, it's because we're afraid, and we're afraid to admit that. And so, therefore, we result back to our default setting of survival,
Yes.
right? Because we're afraid to let go of those things because we don't know what the X means, and that X is unknown.
Yes.
Another part of that is,
Yes.
and this is a huge portion of it, we don't know how to trust ourselves.
Mhm.
We will trust other people even
Yeah.
people who have wronged us, because the people who have wronged us, we often want to be able to trust you to do better than what you are. And but yet it is a way of saying, if you do this, this gives me a reason to be disappointed in you. No, no, stop doing that. Stop doing that, right?
Yeah.
If it's just like if a person is a thief, you
Mm.
trust him not to be a thief, or do you trust him to be a thief? If you trust him not to be a thief, you set yourself for unexpected disappointment. I don't know which
Yes.
people stop doing that. Just shoot me a text and be like, "Oh, let me shoot them a text first." People have a tendency of, whatever.
That's why I turned the phone off.
I
I'm
do.
muted.
I have clients and stuff that calls me, and it just catch me off guard a lot of times. So, but I do
It's
tell them
okay.
first, because I hate to miss a message, and then find and then my clients find themselves in bad situations. So that's one of the
And
reasons
what
why.
if, let me just help you reframe that.
Yes.
What if you said, clients call me between my obligations?
Yes. Now my thought on that would be, or my
Hmm.
adding to that, because as being a man,
Yes.
um, in the grief field,
Hmm.
we both know that grief has no time limit.
It doesn't. However, my greatest dream was to be like Mother Teresa.
Mhm.
And one day someone said to me, she says, Christine, what Mother Teresa would say to the other nuns when there were too many people, they didn't have enough time. She would say, pray more.
Mhm.
They would pray, she would say, you're not praying enough. And then what would happen, because they're praying for these people to be better, to feel better, right? That's what you pray for. You pray for goodness, for the greatest good of all. I pray for the greatest good of all.
But yeah,
Whenever
yeah.
That's the way I do it. And I send guardian angels to people if they want. I always ask permission because I don't want to impose myself on anyone. And I will just say, my daughter used to call me, and I was always busy. And she was like, "Mom, you're always busy. I can never get through to you." And her frustration was there. She expresses her emotions beautifully, and it's okay. I can self-regulate. And then one day I thought, what if I put this intention that
Mm.
I will see her call, even if my phone is off, and I will be ready, willing, and able to answer that call. And hold and behold, the next time she called, my phone was on the table and it was off, but I saw it light up and it was her calling. So whenever there's that disconnect where I'm not available for a call, I'm like, oh, work on your intention again, Christine.
Mhm.
Stay aligned to that, because I know grief hits when it hits, and I understand that. And I don't know quite how to say it. There's something that wants to come through, a better way of saying what I'm saying. I'm just gonna tune in a bit. It's like they just know, okay? They just know I'm busy right now. They'll tune into my live for some support.
Mhm.
Or they'll think to call the helpline that I offer, and they'll be okay because I'm busy right now.
Right.
And something like that, think about it. Like, tune it in for your audience, Tony, and play with your intention and pray that they are okay.
Can I want to add to that, right?
Yeah, go
Um,
for it.
because I do love what you just said, and maybe I just do things in a different way.
Mhm.
Um, what I find a lot of times Christine, is that when people have families, people have to take that into consideration, right? That you may not be available all the time, and it's unfair that people think that you should be available all the time, right? Because there's boundaries, and if people are willing to push those boundaries aside for their own selfish gain, then that's not okay. I do get that a lot from people. Like there's people probably watching my live right now, waiting for me to get off for the first chance to pick up the phone and call. And then they may get mad and be like, "Well, you didn't pick up the phone. Well, did you ever think that maybe I need to decompress a little bit?" See, no one ever thinks about that. No one ever really thinks neither that maybe I do have a life outside of this.
Yes.
Now, the other side, before I get too far into the tangent, the reason why I make myself available, a few
Mhm.
things. One, I don't have any family,
Mhm.
and so being someone who has had to navigate this
Yeah.
world of grief alone,
Mhm. Yeah.
I never want to miss the opportunity to serve other people.
Yes.
For the simple fact that I would rather make myself available to you and make those sacrifices of sleep and things like that, instead of saying sleep was more important, and then I wake up and have to read about you in the paper,
Yeah.
knowing that I had the opportunity to be there with you, right?
Mhm.
And so, that's one of the main reasons to why I do it. Second reason is because once I identified my gift, I realized that I had become obligated to
Mm. Yeah.
that my gift was not mine, and my gift don't have any sort of time frame. My gift says, "Hey, when I am needed, I am ready to go.
Yeah.
Use me as such." One of the other things that I've also looked at and calculated in as well
Mhm.
was that it's my gift is not mine.
Mm. Would you say that somebody who's gifted in carpentry, that their gift is not theirs? Somebody who's gifted in, painting, their gift is not theirs?
Yeah,
Mm. Interesting.
because it's not okay. It's just like your gift, Christine.
Yes.
Your gift. It's not yours. It was a gift to you. You're obligated to give that to other people.
Well, obligated. I am
Yeah.
passionate about it. I have this desire to, you know?
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You can be passionate about giving that to people, right? But
Mm.
now let me ask you,
Yeah.
if he took that gift away from you, what would you do?
Oh my gosh. Never looked at it that way. If you took it away from me, hmm. Well, actually, um, I lived most of my life not using my gift because I wasn't aware of it
But
to
now you
begin with.
are aware of it.
Now I am aware of it.
So what would
And
you do?
what would I do? That would be real grieving at a whole other
Remember
level.
that you identified your gift
Yep.
to this world. My next question would be, would you rather take it to the grave with you and contribute it to the grave and let that be the richest place on the face of the earth? Or would you rather leave it behind to build a legacy of healed individuals that
Well,
have benefited from the gift that you have given, that you was given into this world?
and that's why I think, like, I never even realized why I was doing this, but I've created this Snap Tap Zap in 2D video animation for little kids. I've created for the adult version. I have a homework for teens coming out. All the stress around homework for teens has many different aspects. I think it has 11 different aspects that I look at. And right now I'm working on the ripple effect of love for dads and families. Start with love, because as I created these techniques, the love was not in there. So now I'm seeing the importance of it and how that changes. Can you imagine a dad who leads his life with his kids from a place of love instead of hurt, anger, frustration, overwhelm? And moms too, it would be amazing if they were doing that.
Yeah,
So I believe I'm doing quite a bit, and it's my legacy, right? Because
there it
people
is.
will continue to use it
There it is.
years and years and years and years to come. Because I know my mission is to drop these seedlings of love, and it'll have the ripple effect it needs to have
They
in a
will.
world where there's a lot of chaos right now. And
Hmm.
I have dads that are learning to lead their family with love, and it's so, so beautiful to see a dad be able to snap, tap, zap instead of getting angry, and learning how to, see, there's my passion. I'm jumping
And
in the screen.
again, this is why I asked what I asked, right? And
Yep,
so when you know what you're here for, that is
I know.
purpose.
I
The
know what
two
I'm here
most important days in a person's life is the day that you was born and the day that you figured out why.
for. Yes.
And once you can figure out why that purpose is, you must live intentionally. Because
Yes.
now that you know this, you'll never get another night's sleep if you're not able to do what you're supposed to do. It will eat at you. Your gift has has creativity in it. And because it wants to manifest itself into the world, everything that you do and will do is things that have never been done before. Isn't that a beautiful thing to look forward to? So
It's so
now it goes back to what I said in the beginning. You're now obligated. It's not yours. You can't take that with you. And if you do, you're gonna you take this to the grave with you, and you miss out on the opportunity to change someone else's life. The goal is as we begin to travel through this place, is to go there the way that we came,
yeah.
with the story of saying, how did I serve? Did I not serve and use my gift the way that it was meant to be used? Did I not let my gift explore itself into this world and do the beautiful things that it was capable of doing without any limits, without any sort of expectation, but through servitude and obligation? So now my question would be, if you wasn't doing this, what would you be doing?
I don't know what would I be doing. I
That-
I I am unable not to help. Just my
that's the
it's part of who I am, and,
exactly.
you
And
know
that's why I said what I said, right?
yeah,
Um, and when you can understand that, your passion becomes a little bit more intentional, right?
yes, and my passion has been very intentional since I started the EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, to release my fears. In what year was that? In 2019, I would have been totally unable to be on a live for you and an hour, 24 minutes with you, just with you because you're a man, with me being visible around the world, because I mean, in 2021, I was on a live, and I was so nervous. There was these little my nervous system was hijacking me, and now here I am talking with you, Tony, like we've known each other forever,
There we
and
go.
but what did I do? Like, I have focused. I don't like the word work. I've focused diligently on my personal growth to be able to. So for me to be able to create the ripple effect of love for dads and families, people say, "Christine, you're a girl. Why you're a woman. Why you want to help dads?" I want to help dads because I find in society today, their power is being taken away. You watch any action movie now, it's all women taking down everybody. I mean, I was just watching something the other day, and I was like, it doesn't have to be that, but dads are wanting to connect with their children, don't know how
Yes.
because nobody taught them. My dad loved me, but because he didn't know how to connect with me, he was unable to.
Right.
Until I released all that energetic tension between us with the EFT, and as I took a course called Conscious Parenting by Dr. Shefali, not for my kids, but to reparent myself because
Hmm.
my parents didn't know how to parent me. So I reparented myself. And from there, the connection with my dad happened at an because, I couldn't do anything right. It was just the way it was. I couldn't. And everything I did was impossible. It was just like it was ridiculous. But I
Right.
still loved him and I still spent time with, because I really wanted that. It was like my ultimate goal. And then I decided, you know what? Let him be who he is and just take care of you. And as I took care of me and reparented myself, I was able to create an amazing connection. When I walk in his house now, "Hi, Christine, it's so nice to see you." I've had that for the last 4 years.
And
Mhm.
that's what it's about.
And it's about, I have another saying, I say, "Be or create the change you wish to see in the world." And it's the change you want to see with your siblings. It's the change you want to see with your parents. It's the change you want to see with your children. My children, when I was really sick, they they couldn't take me. I was explosive. And I said to my son, oh, here I'm saying this story again. I've said it so many times. So when things started being better, 2019, 2020, my daughter said, "Oh, mom, I couldn't handle you anymore. You were so dramatic." I'm like, "I was dramatic?" Because I disconnected from who I was to survive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, a few months later, I'm in the car. Of course, my son's driving because it was still too complicated for me to drive at that point. And I said to him, I said, honey, I said, "Do you find I was dramatic?" He says, "Mom, you weren't dramatic. You were neurotic." Okay. So if this person who was neurotic can go to a place of love, and this year for my birthday, my children came for lunch, we made nachos, we played Scrabble, what else did we do? Anyway, they stayed 6 hours, and they're 25 and 31. So what happened? I became the change I wanted to see.
Yes. Yes.
When my daughter would call me, I would be self-regulating the whole time because everything she was saying would trigger me. Because when you're a victim, you blame everybody and everyone around you, right?
Mhm.
That's how you become neurotic. I think maybe. I mean, don't quote me on that. But and and of course, too many hurts, too many rejections, too many, there were lots of stuff happening in my life at that point. So I would self-regulate, breathe in while she talked, and would say, "Oh, that's interesting." I would not give my opinion anymore. They don't want our opinion. Do we want our parents' opinion? No, we don't. So why do we think our kids who are adult children want our opinion? They don't.
They don't.
But what I did and came to realize was to listen to her whole story,
Yeah.
and then I would look for, "Oh, I am so proud of you because you did this. I am so proud of you because you did that. You made that choice. Did you notice that when that guy treated you this way, you made that choice? I'm so proud of you. You couldn't
Yeah.
do that 2 months ago. Congratulations." You know? And it's
Just
just about looking for those little things with our children. What am
yeah.
I most proud of you in that whole hour of blah, 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 blah that you're calling me to dump on me? How did I get her to stop dumping on me? Because at one point I was like, "Okay, I've had enough. You've been dumping for 20 some years." I I started just like I said with getting the siblings on board. You pray more
Mhm.
intentionally. Oh, it would be so nice. I would visualize her being able to talk to me without dumping on me. Sharing, not from victimhood, but sharing from a good relationship with your mom.
Right.
And of
Right.
course, I continued self-regulating because my brain wanted to recreate the old stories, and we need to stop the old stories in our brain and feel safe. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, one day she started, and I just went, she stopped. Like, she even heard my breath, I think. I didn't ask her. I didn't go there. I just allowed the space, you know? But offering them a safe space to talk and to share and to exchange. So now she'll say, "Mom, oh, you won't believe what happened, but it's not dumping. It's telling me what happened." There's a huge
Right.
difference.
Right. It's the permission that you gave her in those moments. It's an unspoken permission
Yes,
that allows them to be open and free.
yes,
And you're right. They're not looking to be given the answers. They want the one thing that we didn't get the chance to have, to
yes,
be to be heard,
yes.
just to be heard,
Our
right?
children need to be heard, to feel heard. Mhm.
Mhm.
They
Not
need
just
to feel it.
there you go.
They need to feel seen.
Mhm.
They need to feel loved. They need to feel valued.
Mhm.
So I'm so proud of you for this choice you made. Even though there's 10, 15, 20 other choices that person made that you did not like, who cares? But
Yeah,
this one thing was awesome.
that's it.
That's it. Just keep
That's it.
looking for that one thing, and if you have to listen for an hour, listen for an hour.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's in 2 minutes, but sometimes it's in an hour, and it's okay.
and it's worth it. Now I got two more questions for you. Uh,
Okay.
one question as we begin to wrap this up, because I love this conversation, and I hope that people are listening right now. Enjoy the content. I can see they're still tuning in right now, so I can tell that they're enjoying the conversation as well, and hopefully they picked up a lot of things that they can use. And your info, I do have your information that now, so if you guys like that or enjoy the conversation with Christine, and you're looking to find more support. Her information is in the YouTube channel, and of course, if this is your first time tuning in, and you have not already, we're reaching goals right now, guys. Keep it coming. Do me a favor, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But most importantly, if you know anyone who could benefit from the conversations that we have, do me a favor, share
Yes,
this with them. Okay,
yes. Please
and tell
share.
them that there's people out here that care, that want to walk with them to help them find their paths of healing. Right.
Mm.
And so now my next question to you, Christine, would be, how can people find you?
Mm. So they can do Christine Bernat, Bernat.com. That's my, website. Um, oh, sometimes I have my QR code up, but I don't have that up where they can book a time. They can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, I don't know, TikTok, where else? Yeah, YouTube. I think if you Google the ripple effect of love or Snap Tap Zap or just my name, actually discovered the other day, and you can try it. I'm not sure. If you say Christine Bernat from Orford, Quebec, Canada, ChatGPT will answer.
Very nice,
Whoa!
isn't it?
I was like, "Whoa!" We're just having fun, a group of people, and there's this guy I know that loves ChatGPT, asks ChatGPT every single thing. It's okay, but I don't do that. I use it effectively, I believe, but anyway. So, I said, "Oh, Google your name," nothing comes up. Google this other person's name, nothing comes up. I said, "Well, Google mine," thinking nothing would come up,
Uh,
and it did, so I thought it was pretty cool.
that is amazing. That is amazing. So,
Yep.
guys, please go check out our YouTube channel and show that support over there as well. Now, my next question to you would be, and I really love this question, and people are probably getting used to me asking this question right now, and I'm not going to stop asking it, okay? Because I think it is the answers that I get are so beautiful, authentic. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I do have a superpower, sorry. My superpower, and I love it because it really, really supports my clients, is I have the ability to tune in to your question, your hurt, and to see inside your little self that got hurt.
Mm,
Most of my clients can also see that and have that memory come up, and we're able to give that younger self, usually, well, it depends, there's all ages that show up, but that younger self lots of love, everything it needed, feel seen, heard, loved, valued, and it I'm not allowed to use the word, but I will use it in quotation marks, it heals that person, that
mm.
little person, and it's like and then you're empowered to be you. And that is what I love to do the most, is to use that superpower.
I love that. I love that. Um, Guys, hopefully, you guys enjoyed the conversation. We're going to start wrapping this episode up of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and this is going to close out this one. Okay, and tune in tomorrow. Because we got another exciting episode coming for you guys and everything. And as always, man, go out there, tell the people that you're around that you love them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed, nor is the next moment. But
Mm,
make sure you're giving people their flowers now so
yes.
you don't have to wait to give them to them later. All right? Guys, peace. Have an amazing day. See you guys in the next one.
Thank you. It was an
You're welcome.
honor to be here, Tony.
Same here.